factor this by grouping. There are 4 terms. This works perfectly for grouping because we're going to split it right down the middle, and you'll see why in a second here. So first thing I always want you to look for is a greatest common factor that you can factor out. 4, 8, 5, and 10. They don't have anything in common except for 1. So that step is out of the way. Now here's what we're going to do. We're going to split it right down the middle. And we're going to take the greatest common factor of each side. So on the left side, 4n to the third, 8n squared. They both have n squared. And then 4 and 8, 4 would be a common factor. So we're going to factor out 4n squared. Now 4n squared times n would give you 4n to the third. 4n squared times 2 would give you 8n squared. Now on the right side, anytime your first term is negative, we're going to factor out a negative. So we'll put minus. Great. 5n and 10, the greatest thing they have in common is 5. So we factored out a negative 5. So negative 5 times n is negative 5n, and negative 5 times 2 would give you that negative 10. Now, do you notice anything? Yes, good. Hopefully you see that they have the exact same thing in parentheses. That's great, because that will go in one of the parentheses of our final answer. And it doesn't matter which set you write it in, but typically you write it in the second, or you'll see it written in the second. But again, it doesn't matter. Now, what goes in the other set of parentheses is the greatest common factor stuff that we factored out, 4n squared minus 5. This is your final answer. If you have extra time, FOIL it. 4n squared times n would be 4n to the third. 4n squared times 2 would be 8n squared. Negative 5 times n is negative 5n. Negative 5 times 2 is negative 10. Oh, whoa. That's what we started with, dude. All right. Always check for that greatest common factor, though. So 5t squared, 5t to the fourth, 20t to the third, 6t, and 24. They don't all have t's, so they don't even have a common factor except for 1. So we'll split it. Left side, 5t to the fourth, 20t to the third. They both have at least t to the third. And 5 goes into 5 and 20. So we'll factor out 5t to the third. 5t to the third times t is 5t to the fourth. 5t to the third times 4 gives you the 20t to the third. Now you know that this has to be the same thing in parentheses over here. So if you want, you could write that first and then work backwards and say, well, t times what would give me positive 6t? Positive 6. But double check, is 6 times 4 positive 24? Yes, it is. So in one of the sets of parentheses, we have the stuff factored on the outside, the 5t to the third plus 6. The other set of parentheses is the stuff they have in common, t plus 4. If you have the extra time on a test or quiz, FOIL it, make sure it works. Okay, let's try another one. They don't have anything in common, except for 1, but we never factor out 1. So we'll split it down the middle, 2w to the third, w squared. W squared would be the greatest common factor. W squared times 2w gives you 2w to the third, and w squared times 1 gives you w squared. Now you could write the 2w plus 1 over here if you want right away. That works. Or if you look, I see the first term is negative, so I automatically have to take out a negative. 14w and 7 have 7 in common. Negative 7 times 2w gives you negative 14w. Negative 7 times 1 gives you negative 7. So we're ready to write our final answer. W squared minus 7 and 2w plus 1. All done. Great.